A chieftain of the All Progressive Congress (APC), Chief Eze Chukwuemeka Eze, has alleged that President Bola Tinubu is having his eyes on electoral fraud in 2027. According to Eze, Tinubu's recent appointment of Professor Nyetemwe Yelwada as national chairman of the APC has further highlighted this. Chief Eze also noted that the sudden activation of EFCC's attack mode against perceived political foes is highly condemnable and signposts an administration that is paranoid over the conduct of a credible, free and fair election come 2027. In a recent statement released to the media on Wednesday, Eze stated that none of what he described as devious plots being adopted by the Tinubu administration to retain power will come to fruition. There's a growing tension in the country's healthcare sector as the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors (NARD) has threatened to resume its suspended strike if its demands are not met within the next 3 weeks. The warning follows the association's July National Executive Council meeting held in Calabar, where doctors decried worsening working conditions, unpaid salaries, and lack of systemic reform.
At the end of its July National Executive Council meeting and scientific conference in Calabar, the association issued a communique demanding immediate government intervention to prevent a total collapse of medical services. NAT's national president, Tope Oshundare, while reading the association's 14-point demand, lamented the government's failure to prioritize the welfare of doctors, urging federal and state governments to urgently review and improve incentives to curb the mass migration of health workers.
The NEC calls on Federal Ministry of Health to facilitate seamless and sustained employment of doctors to curb the alarming rates of brain drain. The NEC urgently calls for the immediate inclusion of medical and dental house officers in the civil service scheme and insists on the prompt payment of all their rightful emoluments. The NEC urges the state governors to prioritize the welfare of doctors and other health care workers in their various state-owned hospitals and training institutions as a means of curbing immigration and maintaining industrial harmony.
NAD also condemned the failure of key regulatory bodies to fully recognize qualifications earned by doctors.
The NEC urges the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria (MDCN) to immediately restore the recognition of West Africa Postgraduate Membership Certificates to their previous status and call on National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria to commence the issuance of membership certificates to deserving candidates in line with the best global practices. The NEC demand that the federal government immediately constitute and inaugurate then empower full and functional board of management for MDCN, Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, and all federal tertiary health institutions to ensure accountability, transparency, and efficiency in the management of these institutions.
The National Executive Council of NAD is expected to reconvene in 3 weeks to review the government's response and decide on the next line of action. Abiola Alafe reporting for Clever News.
In another development, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has backed the introduction of compulsory and random drug integrity tests for students in tertiary institutions across the country. This decision followed a meeting in Abuja on Wednesday with the chairman and chief executive officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Buba Marwa retired, where both parties discussed measures to curb substance abuse among students. In a statement by the agency spokesman Femi Babafemi on Wednesday, the minister also approved a review of the current secondary school curriculum to incorporate updated drug education and committed to forming an interministerial working group with the NDLEA. Babafemi said the NDLEA boss had proposed a 3-pronged approach revising drug education content in schools, introducing standalone drug abuse prevention programs in secondary schools, and implementing a drug testing policy for tertiary institutions, including for new students, returning students, and random testing. The World Athletics Federation has announced that all female athletes wishing to compete in the Tokyo 2025 World Championship must undergo a one-time genetic test to confirm their biological sex. According to the report, the ruling effective from September 1 requires a cheek swab or blood sample to test for the SRY gene, which indicates a presence of a Y chromosome.
The rule, which aims to protect the integrity of women's competition, comes amid global debates on sexual development and eligibility. World Athletic Federation President Sebastian Coe explained that gender cannot override biology, while emphasizing the need for policy in elite sports. Sources reveal that the regulation stems from recommendations by the Gender Diverse Athlete Working Group, merging previous regulations on transgender and DSD athletes in a uniform standard. The decision has sparked debate across Nigerian media, with supporters saying it brings clarity to eligibility, while some have criticized the policy of having potential privacy issues. Recall that the U.S. President Donald Trump in February signed an executive order that prevents transgender women from competing in female categories of sports, a move expected to prevent transgender athletes from competing against females in International Olympic Committee (IOC) competitions that take place on U.S. soil. President Trump further said that the order would include 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles, stating that he would deny visas for transgender Olympic athletes trying to visit the U.S. to compete at the LA Games.
In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. In recent years, the radical left has waged an all-out campaign to erase the very concept of biological sex and replace it with a militant transgender ideology. You heard a little bit about this, haven't you, huh? Just a little bit? Does anybody agree with them? No. It would be not a good thing to say yes right here.
The gender test is expected to ensure fair play in sports going forward. Abiola Alafe reporting for Clever News.
A recent debate on accountability in among religious leaders has been brought to the fore. On the streets of Abuja, residents have expressed their opinion on whether members of the clergy accused of serious crimes such as rape and sexual assault should be shielded from the full force of the law due to their revered positions in society. Clevis Moturayo Agurundade brings us details on the matter.
This debate on rising cases of sexual abuse in religious institutions centers on question whether clergy members accused of rape and sexual assault should face the full force of the law. While some argue that their spiritual calling shouldn't shield them from accountability, others see it as an attack on Christianity and its leaders.
As far as we are human beings, we are not meant to judge. You leave judgment for God. And if anybody does anything, either a pastor or a normal person, you leave them for God to judge them, not like you human being to start telling or judging them.
Anybody that did wrong is supposed to be held responsible for the law. This one, they are tarnishing the image of Christ, which is uncalled for. In the Christian fold, there are different kind of men of God. There are people that call God, and there are people that God called. Those kind of people, God didn't call them. If God called them, they would have followed the precept of the gospel. So those kind of people, they should be held responsible. They should want to face the wrath of the law.
If anybody breaks the law,
let them face the law, regardless of gender, regardless of status, regardless of whatever. The law is the law. Keep the law. If you break the law, you face it. Whether they are pastors, whether they are bishop, whether they are affairs, anybody, you understand? The person breaks the law. If you break the law, and if the person is found guilty, the person should face it.
Some are of the opinion that the spiritual calling of a clergy member should be taken into consideration when determining their fate, that the matter is not for humans to judge. This opinion further echoes the views of some who believe that only God can truly judge an individual's actions.
If he's convicted for crime that is a commit, that bishop or a priest cannot take it away from him. He has been ordained by God. That is why I say they will leave that judgment between him and his God.
So before a pastor is called, he was once a man. And every man makes mistake. You understand? So if the person should repent from his sin, I don't think there's nothing that is stopping the person from continuing his ministry.
Me, my Bible tells me that we should not judge. The judgment is for God. Whether they give or no give, I don't care about that, because everything is for God. Because are we judging them? How about the government? They are doing their own. Who is judging the governors of the state? Who is judging the president? Who is judging their wives and their children, lavishing money? Nobody is judging them. So if they cannot judge them, let's leave the pastors, let God judge them.
The debate highlights the complexity surrounding accountability and the intersection of faith and law in Nigeria. As the country grapples with cases of clergy abuse, many are left wondering how to balance the need for justice with the sacred nature of spiritual callings. With growing calls for greater accountability within religious institutions, many Nigerians are demanding that clergy members accused of serious crimes be held to the same standards as everyone else. Muturayo Arugundade, reporting for Clearview News.
A young man identified as Stephen Chudubem has been confirmed dead after allegedly taking his own life at his residence in Abuja. It was gathered that deceased had been struggling with severe gambling addiction that plunged him into debt and emotional distress. Chudubem reportedly hung himself using a rope tied to a ceiling fan when emergency responders arrived at the scene and evacuated the body to Kubwa General Hospital, where he was confirmed dead by a medical doctor. You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, on Clearview News Desk, or via handle on X. I am Florence Joshua. Thank you for listening.